I've got a real 1979 Strat here and the Vintera II 70's Strat. Let's compare. As soon as I saw that we had this pre-owned 1979 hardtail Stratocaster in stock, I really wanted to see how the Vintera II version of this guitar compares to it. Of course, there's going to be a few things that are immediately different about them, especially the bigger one being that this 1979 actual genuine guitar was made in the USA, and the Vintera II model that I'm going to be comparing it to was made in Mexico, if that matters to you at all. Before we jump into the most important part that are sounds, I just want to the best of my ability, go over some of the specs that are on this guitar and of the Mexican model behind me too. This 1979 model came to us with very, very little modifications done to it. I think the only thing that's actually been done is the replacement of the saddles, but the customer who traded it in was grateful enough to actually include them in the case that it came in. So kind of standard Fender configuration. It has an ash body, it has a maple neck with a rosewood board, and of course with it being the 70s model, it has that classic 3-bolt neck plate just right there. Of course, it's got the big 70s style headstock on it as well, with the bullet truss rods just at the top of the neck as well. Personally, I really love the look of this. It's my favourite Stratocaster headstock. Let me know if you feel the same down in the comments. It's got the usual 3 single coils set up for a kind of standard Stratocaster. It's got 5-way selector, master volume, 2 tones there. And of course, as I mentioned, the defining factor of this particular guitar being that it's got a hardtail on it, meaning that it doesn't have the usual Stratocaster block system in the back there. It's actually just got the 6 slots just to go right through the body and just into there. Very, very similar to any other string through, kind of like the Telecaster. Comparing the specs to the Vintera II, there's actually not a lot different about them. Obviously, other than the fact that the Vintera II model that I've got today, it's got a maple board and it's got the classic trim system as well. But in terms of bodywood and aesthetic, and certainly they're going for a very similar feel, we're in the same ballpark across the board with both of the guitars. I would say the only big kind of defining feature, certainly outside of maybe sounds that we'll hear in a second, is actually the neck on the Vintera II model is ever so slightly thinner than the genuine 79 that I've got with me. This is going for the U-shaped 70s. It's quite skinny. The 79 that I've got, it's just that little bit thicker and it feels played, which I put in obviously inverted brackets there as well. But for anybody who has tried a genuine vintage instrument, you'll know exactly what I mean by that. So let's not waste any more time and let's just dive right into some sounds. I'm going to be playing very, very similar things on both guitars, and I'm running through the same rig with the same microphones and the same pedals today. I'm going through a Supro Blackmagic combo. That's just going to be a little bit of kind of clean tones with that. There's a touch of reverb on all of everything today as well, just to give it a bit of space. I've got a Benson stonk box that I'm going to kick on when I want some kind of fuzzy, gnarly tones. And the amplifier is being mic'd up with a Shure SM57 and an SM27. able to hear or pinpoint some differences between the two guitars in those playing examples. Certainly to my ears, being in the room, I felt that the 79, the genuine one that was playing, it had a little bit more top end in those pickups. Like, it was a little bit kind of sharper, especially when it was kicking on that fuzz. It was just a little bit more cutty, certainly, than the 70s style pickups that are in the Vintera. They're a little bit kind of more well-rounded and less bright, certainly to my ears, but obviously let me know down in the comments. Personally, I don't think there was a huge amount of difference, certainly in feel between the two guitars. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the 79 here, it does feel like it has been played. Now, kind of touching on that a little bit more, as I said, anybody who has played a vintage guitar knows what that is, but it basically just is kind of, it's settled in. It sort of feels like it has been played, and it doesn't have that total box fresh sort of feel to it like the Vintera II has. Certainly they're both kind of cut from the same cloth, which I think is really, really cool, because the Vintera II here, it feels, you know, very, very similar in the sense that I think this is what this feels like this would have when it was brand new. Now, obviously, I wasn't around when this was made and when this was new, but I can definitely see where they're going from. Now, when it comes to the sort of question of whether one has a little bit more mojo than the other, that's kind of a personal touch, I would say. Like, you know, one person's connection to a guitar may be completely different to the next person's. Like, definitely I feel this has got like a total vibe to it, but if it's any, you know, like completely different to this, I wouldn't say so. Like, definitely the 70s era of Fender is liked by some, it's hated by others, and we'll not go into too much detail about that today, but I definitely think they're in the same sort of ballpark, unless again you're looking for that proper vintagey sort of vibe, which certainly this has got it in spades. But one of the main drawbacks I would certainly say about like a vintage instrument is definitely like you'd be a lot more comfortable taking this out to a show than you maybe this. You know, you'd maybe be a bit wary of what might happen to something that's 40 plus years old as opposed to something that you've bought brand new. So if that matters to you, then definitely take that into consideration. But if you are looking for any sort of vintage instrument, certainly, you know, these kind of eras of Fender, the 70s, there's 70s Gibsons, there's certainly, you know, other eras of guitars as well. This guitar currently is probably about the same price as any sort of standard USA American Pro or something like that. So if you do just want something with a bit more of a story, maybe check out the second-hand market. Maybe look for something that's a bit more vintage, because you might find, you know, a little treasure, or just something that you think's cool that they don't make these days. That's also quite a big thing. But yeah, let me know down in the comments which one you prefer the sound of, which one you thought was cooler. If you have a Vintera II, if you have a vintage 70s Strat, or certainly anything else vintage, I'd love to do some more comparisons as well. So if there's anything you'd like to see me compare, it doesn't need to be vintage, it could be brand new guitars that are out just now. Let me know down in the comments. And while they're there, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Very much appreciated, because it does really help the channel. But until next time, I've been Keiran, and this has been a 1979 Strat versus the Vintera II 70s Strat. Have a great day.